Okay, so we just finished talking about the linear production possibilities frontier and the three relevant regions of that frontier. Being outside the frontier being impossible, inside the frontier as being productively inefficient, and being on the frontier as being productively efficient. And that you know when something is productively efficient if that trade-off is apparent. And that a linear production possibilities frontier, basically, again, the opportunity cost is constant. But that's, again, a rather rare situation. What we focus a greater deal on, let's do this good 2, good 1, is actually a frontier that's bowed outward. This is called the increasing opportunity cost frontier. And what you would see is that as you move from left to right, that the trade-off from left to right, well then what you would clearly see, right, is that quantity of good 2 would be increasing, right, from left to right. Quantity of good 1 would be falling, but it would actually be falling at an increasing rate. As you go further and further to the right. Right? And you can see that because it's really, really steep here, meaning I give up a lot of good 1 for very little of additional good 2. Whereas way over here, I give up almost none of good 1 for additional units of good 2. And then there's like the middle of the road. So that's why this is called an increasing opportunity cost production possibilities frontier. From left to right, as the quantity of good 2 is increasing, as would happen from left to right, quantity of good 1 is falling, but falling at an increasing rate. Same things apply. Inside the frontier, productively inefficient. On the frontier, productively efficient. Outside the frontier, being impossible. This happens most of the time. And the reason why it happens most of the time is because the resources are becoming increasingly mismatched or inappropriate to producing the good, right? So the example here would be something along the lines of, I know nothing about farmland. To force me to have to farm stuff would mean you'd give up a lot of economics for only a very little additional amount of farming, right? And that would happen at the extremes. At the extremes, you're basically saying all of the resources are being used to produce just one good, right? Everything is being used to produce just good 2. Everything is being used to produce good 1. Something kind of in the middle. And let's also just remember here that for the frontiers, we're not actually talking about what people actually want. We're not talking about preferences that people have for certain things. All we're talking about here is the actual physical ability to produce the good. Okay, so now we've got our increasing opportunity cost, our increasing production possibilities frontier, our linear production possibilities frontier. Well, then the final one, let's shorten this as quantity of good 1, quantity of good 2. Is actually a frontier that's bowed inward. Now, here, from left to right, quantity of good 1 would be increasing. I kind of switched the 1s and 2s, I realize now. From left to right, the quantity of good 1 would be increasing. Quantity 2 would be falling, however, at a decreasing rate. And why would that happen? That would primarily happen because the resources are becoming increasingly better matched to producing a good. So it's just like because we're producing a lot of good 1, that kind of good 1, is the type of good where producing it in larger quantities, you actually become better at producing it. We see this in things like technology, automobiles, airplanes. There are certain goods where just the sheer size of the production levels mean we can become more efficient at producing them. Okay, now what we want to do here then is with this notion of the frontier, the production possibilities frontier, we want to talk about how we could describe something like economic growth. So economic growth, if we just draw this for a, I'll just draw this for a linear production possibilities frontier. That for a linear production possibilities frontier, good 1, good 2, I have a constant trade-off linear production possibilities frontier, that economic growth could be described in one of three fashions. Either, right, I could get more resources, right? That would be one way that I could have economic growth. Because what would happen is that this frontier, one possibility is that it could vertically and systematically shift out. So now I get more of both goods 1 and good 2. Right? But it could also shift in a differential fashion, where it's only helping good 1. Right? Or it could increase and only help good 2. Or, right, so this is the three ways to describe economic growth. We could even have economic destruction, right? We could have, like, people dying off because there's, plague or something like that, where the economy actually shrinks in size. Notice it's basically what's happening is that the size of the resources are changing, the number of people are changing. Something is changing that's causing that shift in the frontier. And also the point that you actually are on the frontier. Okay. We've got two more big topics to cover here for this chapter. I'm going to stop the video here just in terms of keeping the time down to manageable levels, and then I'm going to pick it up with using these production possibilities frontier to prove to you the one statement that almost all economists agree about, and that's the statement that free trade benefits all. I'm going to use a series of linear production possibilities frontiers to prove that statement to you. Okay, so I'm going to stop the video here, and I'm going to pick that up in the third part of this lecture.